A force field that shelters his people from the hardships of the world. This is the best way to show what he had. I present with his speech by our guest speaker, Mr. Donald Alexander.
Good morning. Montgomery, Alabama, 1955. And then we started our struggle together. And things were going well for the first few days. Then about 10 or 15 days later, after the white people in Montgomery knew that we meant business, they started doing some nasty things. They started making nasty telephone calls, and it came to the point that some days more than 40 telephone calls would come in, threatening my life, the life of my family, the life of my children. And I took it for a while in a strong manner. I never will forget one night very late. It was around midnight. And you can have some strange experiences at midnight. I had been out all that night meeting with the steering committee. And I came home. My wife was in the bed, and I immediately crawled into bed to get some rest, to get up early the next morning and try to keep things going. And immediately the telephone started ringing, and I picked it up. And on the other end was an ugly voice. And that voice said to me in substance, "Nigga, we're tired of you and your mess now. And if you are out of this town in 3 days, we're going to blow your brains out and blow up your house." I heard these things before, but some reason that night it got to me. I turned over and tried to go to sleep, but I couldn't sleep. I was frustrated, bewildered. And then I got up and went back to the kitchen and started warming some coffee, thinking that coffee would give me a little relief. And I started thinking about many things. I pulled back on the theology and philosophy that I had just studied in universities, trying to give philosophical and theological reasons for the existence and the reality of sin and evil, but the answer didn't quite come there. I sat there and thought about a beautiful little daughter who had just been born about a month earlier. We have 4 children now, but we only had one then. And she was the darling of my life. I'd come in night after night and see that little gentle smile. And I sat at that table thinking about that little girl and thinking about the fact that she could be taken away from me at any minute. I thought about a dedicated, devoted, and loyal wife who was over there asleep. She could be taken from me. I could be taken from her. And it got to the point that I couldn't take it any longer. I was weak. Something said to me, "You can't call on Daddy now. He's up in Atlanta, 175 miles away. You can't even call on Mama now. You got to call on that something and that person that your daddy used to tell you about. That power that can make a way out of no way." And I discovered then that religion had to become real to me, and I had to know God for myself. And I bowed down over that cup of coffee. I never will forget it. Oh yes, I prayed a prayer, and I prayed out loud that night. I said, "Lord, I'm down here trying to do what's right. I think I'm right. I think the cause that we represent is right. Lord, I must confess that I'm weak now, I'm faltering, and I'm losing my courage." Seemed at that moment that I could hear her inner voice saying to me, "Martin Luther, stand up for righteousness. Stand up for justice. Stand up for truth. And Lord, I will be with you even until the end of the world." I tell you, I seen the lightning flash, and I heard the thunder roll. I felt sin breakers dashing, trying to conquer my soul, but I heard the voice of Jesus say, still to fight on. He promised never to leave me, never to leave me alone. No, never alone. No, never alone. He promised never to leave me, never to leave me alone. Sometimes I feel discouraged. And I don't mind telling you this morning that sometimes I feel discouraged. I felt discouraged in Chicago. As I moved through Mississippi and Georgia and Alabama, I feel discouraged. Living every day under the threat of death, I feel discouraged sometimes. Living every day under extensive criticisms, even from Negroes, I feel discouraged sometimes. Oh yes, sometimes I feel discouraged and feel my works in vain. But then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. God bless you.